Dear friends, please welcome the man who visited Telos, Lowell Johnson.
I spent the first pretty good chunk of my life in the hospitality business as an exec, and so I've done lots of presentations. They were really good. Yeah, I don't have any of that today. So I don't have any PowerPoints. I don't have any pictures to share today. We'll see what happens on Sunday when we get to that part of the 5D panel on Sunday. I may be ready to share some things that I'm not quite ready to share yet. However, having been in the casino business, when I saw I was on at 6 o'clock, this is like the early dinner show for me, except there's no dinner. We'll see about the show in just a second. I know y'all came here to hear about Telos. How many of you know who the Lemurians are? Wow, awesome. How many of you know about Telos? Well, all of you know about Telos, so clearly you're here for a purpose. So I might as well just tell you what it was like. Last year, I was getting tired of being cooped up because of COVID like the rest of us. Had been staying with my son in Santa Rosa since February. And when those conditions relaxed a little bit around the first part of July, I was starting to make plans to go spend some time in nature. I just like peace, solitude, and I know I can always find it there. My intent was to go spend, I had no particular plan and nowhere necessarily to be, but I had been in the southwest area before, like the Four Corners, so spent time in the national parks in Utah and Arizona and New Mexico and Colorado, and it was just beautiful, and I was making plans to go. I started to see posts on Facebook that some of the national parks were closed. And as soon as that kind of sunk in, for whatever reason, Shasta popped in my mind. I had driven by here many times, never really stopped, certainly was aware of what kind of energetic, signatures there are here, but I had never taken the time to enjoy it. This seemed like a good opportunity. I had a few things that were going to perhaps be challenging. I had just come back from a consulting job in Louisiana, and so the license plates on my car were Louisiana license plates. So I had to carefully kind of move my way around California not to draw the wrong kind of attention, because I was still working here with Louisiana license plates, Louisiana driver's license, although I've lived in California more or less since 2007. So once I made this plan, I had suggested to my son that I was going to go for about a week, kind of figure it out, and then after that, he and I were going to hook up in Tahoe, spend some father-son time out in nature. And after the first week in Shasta, I contacted him and said, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to stay for another week. And he said, I don't mind, just let me know when you're ready to go to the next place, and then we'll connect. Well, 2 weeks became 3, 3 became 4. I stayed here for 5 weeks last year, the first time I ever came. And it was the end of the 4th week where all this happened. I've been on a spiritual journey since the end of 2015. I had a TIA. Anybody know what a TIA is? It's a mini stroke. Yeah, I had mine right here. There was a blockage in my carotid artery. That was about 85% blocked. Yeah, we had to go clean that out. As one of the remedies for therapy, my doctors had suggested meditation, and I was ready for it. I had looked into meditation for years and just had not found the right parcel for me. Well, I had nothing better to do in the month of December in 2015 than lay on the couch and try and figure it out. So I tried apps, tried anything that I could find that would get me there. And whatever that mantra you were supposed to find, you couldn't Google it and find it. I was on a journey to find it. By the time I got to February, somehow I had viewed The Secret for the 3rd time. And TM was, part and parcel of that. So I had started to investigate, maybe that might be a solution for me. It turned out that the instructors, which are not everywhere, lived less than a mile from my house. So within a week, I was where I wanted to be. It didn't take but 2 sessions in meditation for me to sense, first of all, I used to have what I thought was indigestion. And depending on what I thought I ate, it would flare. After the second day of meditation, that went away. It took me a few more days to assimilate. That had been the stress that had just been sitting here. And ever since then, it's been gone. Ever since meditation became part and parcel, my high blood pressure, which I've had all my life, is gone. Arthritis, which hockey players have, gone. Something has just changed. If you'd have seen a picture of me when I was still in the hotel business, I was 30 pounds heavier. I didn't join a health club and I didn't change my diet. There was something that source was just making me crave instead. So where I could polish off a bag of potato chips without any trouble, and I grew up in a house where my father was an ice cream salesman, I enjoyed these things very much. However, I started to crave watermelon, which I loved anyway, carrots, apples, grapes. That's what I wanted, and this just kind of found its own form along the way. When we got to that 4th weekend, I had hiked everywhere on the mountain. And when I started out, I knew nothing about the mountain. I'd reached out to a couple of the spiritual guides, only to find out that they're like booked weeks in advance. Me thinking I was going to book somebody the next week, yeah, that's going to happen. But at least one of them pointed me in the direction of Ascension Rock, so I had a direction that I could go and just kind of explore on my own. Well, when I got to Red Fir Flat that day, I went past Ascension Rock, and it went down a long way. I learned that day that the best hiking is when the downhill part of the hike is at the end of the day. That was not my first day. I had no compass. I had really no connectivity. How I found my way out of there, I don't know, but I had no business to going off trail that way. I don't like the trails everybody else covers, because not to say that you won't find magic there, but I can tell you when I go off, I'm guaranteed to find it. And so those are the paths that I take. This particular weekend, I had planned 2 things. I wanted to see what's that little place at the end of Ski Village Road? It'll come to me in just a second. And I wanted to hike up Black Butte. I did lots of research on it and who said what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and most people said, don't do that. I didn't pay any attention to it. Twice on the trip up, and I was alone. I should have turned around because it's just slippery scree rock. There were a couple places where it had slid out. I had no business trying to crawl across it, but I had gone that far and I wasn't going to turn back. It took me 6 hours for that hike. That was Saturday. So Sunday, where I was going to explore some areas where on Shastina, when I had sat there the day before, it almost looked like when the shadows cast on it, well, that could be like a cave opening. So I thought, well, that would be worth just investigating one day. After hiking up to Black Butte, I went to bed at 6:15 Saturday night and said, I'm staying in bed Sunday. I need to recover. But I got up at 7 like I do every morning. I meditated, and then I intended to go back and lay down and go to sleep. By 10 o'clock, I said, put your clothes on, we're going. I'm 67 years old. I should not be hiking like this day after day, but if there's any indication that there's physical energy that you get while you're here here's my proof. It's just crazy. So I went there, and by noon, I'm heading up to this spot that I thought had some openings. There's a place at Old Ski Bowl that if you start to travel up, most people travel up Ski Bowl, but there's another trail that goes along Shastina, and it kind of was going in the direction as the bird flies to where I wanted to go. When I got to the bottom, I had to go off trail, I started to climb up, and it's kind of steep right there. But there was a tree in the middle of a rock enclave, and man, you could just feel there's a little bit of energy change here. So I kind of stood in that spot, and I was just going to take it in. And as soon as I got comfortable here, well, right up a little higher, there was another one right there. So I moved there, and as soon as I got set there, there was one final spot against the rock where there were 3 rocks come out like this in an outcropping. So when I got up next to it, wow, you could crawl up into this, and there's an area probably, man, this large. Cool. So I'm a light worker. I plant my light here because that's what we do. I don't come looking to take it away. My job is to plant it here. So I did that first. Sat down with my back against what I thought was the mountain and this dry brush. Had some water, had some grapes. I was listening to tunes on my iPhone, and all of a sudden the music stopped. So I pulled my phone out, and then, there's no power. It's fully charged. I just charged it when I left the car. It's got a fully charged Mophie, so I don't understand. So as I'm trying to fire it back up, there's this sensation I'm getting, like there's almost a canopy, and the shadow of it is kind of coming from behind me, and I'm sat kind of like this on the ground and kind of over my head, and as I'm kind of taking that sensation in, I feel cool air from behind me. Turn around, and what was solid rock a moment ago is now a hole this big. And there's a little kind of ramp that goes up, and as my eyes are starting to adjust, and I can see down, I'll be damned, it looks like there's somebody down there. Maybe 30 yards into the dark, and the next thing I hear, someone asked me if I wished to see Telos. My heart raced a little. But we're going. So I started to make my way, and as my eyes adjusted, it appeared as though whoever that was probably my height. I'm just guessing. As I got closer and I could see this being, this body, this person was not my size. He was 8 feet tall if he was an inch. And as I got closer, he had this white garb on. He had some ribbons. I want to call them ribbons because I don't know how else to kind of categorize them. And I wasn't sure if that was maybe, Lemurian bling, or whether I was some kind of an official and this was some kind of representation of my rank. When I reached him, this guy, his complexion was flawless. I can't tell you how old Alex was, but he had nice long blonde hair, and he looked very Scandinavian to me. Spoke with, if I had to describe it, kind of a British accent. He said, "You can call me Alex." I said, "Well, that'll be easy. All right, that's my son's name." He said, "Yeah, we know about your son. Follow me." And so down this lava tube we go, and you can see at the opposite end, there's light that's starting to come from the other side. As we get down, and part of the discussion is Alex is describing there is a king and a queen there, Ra and Ramu. There is the Council of 13, 6 feminine, 6 masculine to balance the energy, and Adama, the head priest, is the 13th person of the, yes. Thank you. Council. As we got closer to the bottom and it opened up to kind of, I want to call it a staging area. So imagine this is all wide open, and now there's 5 lava tubes across from me. But as soon as I come in, next to me, there's some kind of a platform. I can't tell you what it's made out of. I can tell you for sure it's not metal, it's not wood, not plastic. I don't know what this is. Maybe 6 by 6, and it had what appeared to be 2 bucket seats on it. Alex sat on one, indicated for me to get into the other one, and as soon as I sat down, this thing levitated. And off we went. It didn't feel like we were moving anywhere. And yet here we went. So we headed through that middle tube in that direction. And as we got toward the other side, when the light was coming from that side, the crystals that were lining this tube were starting to catch the light from the other side. And every movement you made just lit this kaleidoscope up in another way. Oh my God, it was amazing. Now, as much as you're taking all that wonderfulness in, as soon as we come out, we're in the city of Telos. So we hover up over, so you've seen cityscapes in those pictures. That's what I get to see from Telos, from that perspective. The city is circular in form. In the middle of it is a pyramid that is white. It has a capstone that, by the way, was given to them by Venus. And I didn't know this at the time. It was white the day that I was there. According to Diane Robbins, it changes color based on the day of the week. And that color associates itself with the garb that you wear that day. Had it been Saturday, would have been purple. Had it been Wednesday, would have been green. With Sunday, Sunday is white. So, as we're taking all this in, it's just amazing. The description of what is on the first level, and there are 5, is that's where most of the population lives. There are administrative buildings on this level, and multiple temples aside from the pyramid in the middle. There is one room in particular that we'll come back to. It's circular over here in this side. It was notable when I came in. There's a reason that was true. As we came through and we kind of descended a little bit, I could start to make eye contact with 5 or 6 people as I was coming through. And in every case, it was like I knew who they were and they knew who I was. Yeah, there's more to that story later. I didn't know any of that at the time. Now we find ourselves on the 3rd level. And here is where these hydroponic gardens grow everything that they exist on. At first, when I started to take that in, because this is amazing. There's no dirt in any of this. Everything is crystal infused, and their water just perpetuates this crop in such a way that it feeds the entire population over. Now, I had to be mindful, and it took me a while to figure that out. Remember that these beings, their crystalline form has really, they've taken shape. They're no longer carbon forms. So whatever energy they take in, they probably don't need to eat as much. It would make sense they're vegetarians. But you don't need to ingest anything. And our systems are going to work entirely differently when they're there because you use all of the energy. Yeah. Whatever internal things we had to, how can I say this politely? There's no way to say it politely. There's no need to go to the bathroom anymore. You're going to burn all the energy that you take in. You're going to find out that more of it, you're going to crave solar energy more and more. If you don't know it already, we do that now. We're all energetic beings, are we not? We just take in, as this little capacitor we are, we take in energy and we expend energy. So, it's said that there's over 1 million people that are in that cavity. I can't verify that. I know what started there. There were about 25 or 26,000 that ended up there at the beginning when Mu just kind of fell off. And if you understood how Lemuria really was, the geography of it all, is that all of that included part of Western North America and down into Mexico. That's how they ended up here in Shasta. That's why the Hawaiian Mountain, or the Hawaiian Islands, those are the top of the peaks of the mountains when Lemuria was Lemuria. One day, all of that's going to come together again, and you'll see that. But it just now, does it make sense to you why they fled to Shasta? It was a high point for them. It made sense. So, once we've seen that third area, now we're back up onto the first level. And that room I had pointed out before, yeah, we're heading in that direction. It turns out that this is the council chamber. It's crystal, it's beautiful, it's round, and immediately when I get there, there are panels on the outside and an opening like it was made for, double doors. And on this crystal panel and on this crystal panel are some light codes that look very familiar to me. I had seen these sketches somewhere else. How many of you knew or know Haruko and Blue Star Child Gallery here in town? You ought to go see her shop. Because those light codes I saw, she drew. They're all over her shop. They're amazing. The Lemurians said the light codes for the Stargate for the New World and the new angelic blueprint were so accurate, they etched them in the walls of the council chamber on the outside. It was amazing. So I was overwhelmed. When I first came to Shasta that week, I told you I came, I got here on a Sunday, and it was too late to go hike or anything, so I had thought I'd explore downtown, and Haruko was one of those shops that drew me in. Because of COVID, she's got some shoe covers for you so you can move around and explore her artwork, which is inspired, but I didn't want to put the covers on. But as I was leaving, I saw this creation that she's got 10-foot ceilings. This creation was 10 feet high, 3 feet wide, and it was perfectly symmetrical on each side. She draws these by hand. They take months. She uses no rulers, no curvatures. This girl is gifted. You just do yourself a favor, just go see her work. It's amazing. Anyhow, they knew Haruko, and that's what they said as we were going in. So we began to move into the room. It's circular. It's basically crystal, except there is a round wooden table in the middle with 13 seats around it. That was wooden. In it were beautiful crystals. It looked like maybe some gold and silver, but to them, they don't hold the same esteem that they do. Crystal energy is everything there. I failed to mention, and I want to back up for a second, what I saw there was in complete daylight. Now, there's no skylight, and I could not see the top of whatever dome that was in. I can't tell you what the light source was, but it was like daylight, and there were no shadows cast. Go figure. So, into the council chamber we go. And as soon as I get in the room, I feel this palpable energy that is just pushing my chest like the most etheric hug you've ever had, and it lasts the entire time I'm in the room. Afterwards, I thought, well, if you're going to soften somebody up before a meeting, here's the way to do it. Get everybody on their little love button, and let's talk about what needs to take place. It was amazing. So as we were making our way over, and I'm just taking this sensation in walks 5 more beings. I recognize Adama because he's taller than the rest of them. He's in the middle, maybe 9 feet tall, and there are 4 females that are with him. They indicate for me to take one of the chairs, and then 3 of them are on this side, 3 of them are on this side, and beginning with the woman on this end, whose name I can remember, that was Shyama. She seemed to be the chair for this event because she did most of the talking. They each introduced themselves. I can remember Alex. I've had time with him. Knew Adama because everybody knows Adama, but I can tell you this, those pictures of him around town, they do not do that guy justice. And I remember Shyama. Each other one introduced himself and kind of said what they did, but when we got to the nuts and bolts, Shyama kind of took over and said, the reason we asked you to come is there's 3 reasons why you in particular were asked. 1, we know that you can hold 5th dimensional awareness, so what we're trying to communicate to you, you'll understand. 2, we know you're the protector of Gaia. That was associated with an ayahuasca journey I'd had 2 years prior. And 3rd was that they believed, like I did last year, that the shift was imminent. Winter solstice. Good news for me, I thought consciousness was this far away, right around the holidays at the end of the year. So Lowell, that came and that went, nothing happened. What do you have to say? Plenty happened. We're so in the middle of ascension right now, you guys have to feel that the timelines are all accelerating, aren't they? If we get to where I tell you what's happened to me in just the last 2 weeks on Sunday, I'm going to test your ability to really believe the things I'm telling you, because I wasn't. The most precious thing I heard the night after all this happened. And while I was here, I used to spend most of my evenings stargazing as far up Panther Meadows parking lot as I can find and just watch the stars. It gets very busy up there on the weekends with a variety of characters, but I loved it up there, and watching the stars with zero light pollution was amazing up there. Well, the word had gotten out, and a few people knew who I was, and were bringing some others around. And we're in this other couple of older women had come over and they heard my story. One of them said, "You're just a regular guy." Yeah, maybe when the time comes for you really to digest what enlightenment is, maybe it's going to be a little easier if you hear it from a regular guy. I'll leave you with that. So, at the end, Adama mentions that it's the council's wish that when the time comes, they wish to integrate with surface beings again. Humans are not without merit. They don't think the way that we think anymore. They're very logical, fourth, fifth dimensional beings. Emotion doesn't play that much of a role in their mind, their thought patterns. You can imagine. That's the strength of humans, isn't it? That our creative abilities that's what the rest of the universe is watching this experiment, in that when we fire up our emotions, our creative ability is second to none. Look at what we've accomplished in just the last 100 years. Look at the technologies that we, just as humans, have figured out on our own. Well, I'm here to tell you today that there are lots more gifts inside of you, powers that I'm starting to unlock that are waiting for all of you to unlock as well, and the clock is ticking. I'm telling you, the shift is right around the corner, guys. That's why all of these miraculous things are happening. Just be open to them. You're here in a miraculous place, and there's magic all around you. Just open your eyes and kind of take it in. But I assume you're all here because you're light workers. So again, be mindful. Your job is to leave your light behind. Anchor it here, help Gaia. It wasn't to come to Shasta to take something away. I hope that you do. That wasn't your original intent. When it was all over, of course I agreed. I hadn't said anything this whole time. I was overwhelmed. How do you express humility in that moment, that when the time comes for them to make themselves known again, they'd like me to be an emissary? Well, yeah, sign me up for that. It was weeks later, during another past life regression that someone had offered to do for me, and they said, "Well, you're Telosian, right?" No. They said, "That's why they let you in. You incarnated back at this particular time for a purpose. You knew you were coming back holding DNA codex that the rest of us are going to benefit from when the time came for that to take place. So I knew that in this incarnation, the shift is going to happen before my incarnation's finished. I'm 67, telling you, the clock is ticking. Pay attention to what you're feeling, because, man, reach out with your intuition more and more. When I learned to let go of all the shit that I had been conditioned from all the things that were conditioned by, and just started to listen what was really inside, I got to see Telos. Wait till you see what other magic I've been able to see. I've got some light experiences I've had in the last 2 weeks that are a little out of the unusual. But I'm not surprised by it anymore. 2 questions I had for him when I left. Can I tell anybody? And can I come back? Can I tell anybody? I could tell anybody I wished. Because it wasn't like anybody else was going to find their way to Telos. I didn't find my way by accident. And when I came to Shasta, guys, and I was looking for spiritual triggering, I had counted more on running into an ascended master, like Saint Germain, like people do. I mean, hell, here, I'm alone in the woods. Hello, this would be an easy time. Lemuria and Telos weren't even on my radar. And look what happened to me. I know now, when I returned this year, went back to the spot, what I can sense now, and energetic signatures, if I stopped and focused enough, I could see you as nothing but that energetic signature. When I'm wandering through the woods, I see entities that fire up like they were little, like fairy communes. They're there. I've seen them in other areas. There's a place that's dear to me in the Enchanted Forest and the Santa Cruz Mountains, and there are ethereals. They're everywhere. Once you start to connect to them, you'll see them all the time. They're in another dimension, so they don't mind that there's third dimension activity. None of those people that are connected, their vibration doesn't match what's going on in the fourth dimension, so they don't see it. But once it does, man, you get to watch that playground go around, and it's a blast. I was spending the last 2 days over at Lake Siskiyou Camp Resort. Can't go on the mountain. That's a good place to just kind of post up. Day pass is $2. I'll go sit over there. Well, there's an area over there kind of between the beach and there's a little cove, and I sat there for the day. If you get a chance to go over there, go find this area and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a tree trunk that was like taken out, and you tell me if it's not an entrance to Middle World. It's awesome. That's where I sat for the last 2 days, and I saw these elementals playing. At the end of the day yesterday, if some of you saw my Facebook posts, you saw the bear that kind of came through? Oh yeah, she came over and we had a moment. And then I had to go. Yeah, we'll leave this space to her. But I've had more interactions with nature, and I enjoy it. Now they're just more profound. I'd tell you something silly. There was this little dog yesterday. I was at the headwaters, and there's a little pool. If you walk over the back, I like to get my water from there. There was this little dog, Ella, looked like a tiny little boxer. And she zoomed over when she saw me sitting where I was. Her master's over there trying to call her back, and here's little Ella over here. Now, from where I am, there's a rock right here, and there's a rock right there, and there's a stick, a branch like this. Ella is determined to bring me that branch. Nothing anybody was going to do was going to stop her. I tried to get her to pick a smaller one. She wasn't having it. And as much as I tried to move her, it didn't matter where I went, that's where she went. Go figure. It took her owner a while to just come and go get her, but Ella and I were having a moment. Yes. That happened in the morning, the bear happened in the afternoon, and there's nothing malicious about it. Nature is opening up. One of the things that I was told about Telos on the 5th level is here is where there is flora, fauna, trees, animals that have been on the surface, and many that have not. And when the shift is complete and the transformation and the recommunication between the two of us, you're going to get to experience those animals that you'd never seen. You will be able to go to Telos. You will all be dimensional people by then. I'm sure that most of you are already having dimensional experiences now. If you haven't really considered your dreams as that, you ought to start today, because that's where it begins, and you start to really realize what's coming to you automatically. Just follow that rabbit hole and see where it takes you. There's more truth down there when you kind of let your head get out of the way and let your heart kind of take over. You'll see magic. I will open it up for questions. I would rather really have this be interactive. So if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer them. And really, it was my intent to take more people up to the Vortex this weekend. Clearly, that's not going to be an option for us. But when it is, I'm going to make myself available to anybody that wants to go visit. Yes, ma'am. Do you want her to say that? You can't say it, but we want to hear you say it.
Test.
My question is, can you bring people to that location?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Last week, there was one of my friends that we kind of met along the journey. He was here in town before this was all going to start, and so he and I got a chance to travel there, and I left him behind. He wanted to spend a little more time, and I did. He got what he wanted out of it. He's definitely got a connection, a Lemurian connection. He just wanted to go to that place.
I see. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. So do you think you're turning into a breatharian now?
Am I turning into a...
Breatharian. Breatharian is someone who doesn't need to eat anymore.
Oh, no, I like to eat.
Oh,
Oh, hell no. I grew up in the Midwest. We clean our plates.
oh, okay.
I like meat,
Oh, okay.
but I don't prefer it anymore. I can't tell you what triggered that change. I just don't crave it anymore. And honestly, if you've seen me most of the time, this is what I drink now. We were having a conversation about cocktails earlier today, and I can't tell you the last time I've had one. It's not that I don't enjoy them, I just don't crave them anymore. And I lived in wine country for 5 years.
Yeah, because I start to feel like I don't need food anymore, and I don't know if that's a natural thing that's happening or...
Well, let me remind you that you know we're being blasted by enhanced photon energy now, right? Coming from Alcyon, feeding our sun, she's feeding our solar system. That energy is hitting the planet and every sentient being on it. So for decades, my friends, you've been mutated at a cellular level to be ready for this crystalline light body to take shape. The transfer from carbon-based to crystalline, you're already in the process.
Hey, Lowell, great talk. Brad Olson, I'm
Thanks,
one of the
Brad.
speakers. I'm doing a talk tomorrow at 11:30 in the other lodge on Antarctica. And one of the pieces of information that I discuss and I'm very interested in is this whole concept of inner Earth, including flora and fauna that may exist below that we're not acquainted to, and you just touched on that. So I'm very curious if you can perhaps describe some of the animals and
I
plant
didn't get
life.
to see it, but I sense that we're all going to have that opportunity pretty soon. I continue to say that. I really want that to sink into all of you.
If you were to guess, say dinosaurs or anything
Any kind
from another
of
planet.
animal that had walked the planet at some point is there. Now, what I also understand is those animals are also vegetarian in diet. So that whole the lion sleeps next to the lamb thing, that plays itself out there. There's no aggression. This is a fourth dimensional environment. And what's the law of the universe at the fourth level? It's the law of one. We all know we're connected. And we all know that love is the basis of all of it. So there's really, no medical issues that we're going to have because we have the ability to manifest whatever we need, right? You heal yourself. So I really want to see what's there myself too. I don't know, but let your imagination go wild. There are things there that we've never seen.
Well, you didn't answer your number 2 question. Can I come back?
The answer to that was, yeah, their answer was, yes, you can come back before the shift. That was it. But when I did come back this year and hiked back up to get there, yeah, I had another experience. Remember I told you about Shyama? Mm-hmm. The day that I went up there by myself last month, hiked because I couldn't drive up, I was determined to get back to that spot, and so I started at Bunny Flats and thought I was going as the crow flies. All you hikers know you don't go that way, right? Yeah, it didn't work. And there's elevation changes and valleys, and anyway, 4 hours later, I finally reached my destination. But admittedly, I was seeing energy signatures along the way that I stopped to just take in. Like areas where you would swear this was a little village of fairies and gnomes, and it just looked like no one had been here before. So I wanted to take those in. I saw those as I was going through the forest as like energetic signatures. And to I did take pictures of them, but you won't see like the signatures I see is like when you see heat coming off a sidewalk. You understand that's kind of what an energy signature looks like to me, but with form. So in that case, that day that I went back up, I was kind of describing what I was seeing coming through the forest. But remember the portal I had described that opened while I was there? This time when I crawled up, I could see the signature of the opening. I crawled up to kind of turn around, face where the parking lot was, and again, pay my respects to the place that I had been, and I returned, and here comes that breeze again. I turned around, and inside that little hump, there stands Shyama. That was June. The first thing she said is, so they call you Starbuck now. I don't know how you knew that, but yes, that's what I like to call myself. I asked, you're this close to stepping out, why wouldn't you do so? And immediately in my head, the answer already came. In order for her to step into this dimension, she's got to drop her vibration. Who would do that? I said out loud, who would do that? Her reply was, well, you did. Well, we talked about a couple of things that had to do with master alchemists. It's a little early for me to tell you what that involved, but are there any Andara fans around here? Yeah. Any of you know what it's made of? Who knows what Andaras are made of? Shout it out. Ethereum. And does anyone know what Ethereum is? It's prima matra. You understand what creation material is? That is what inside of these. So the Ethereum powder that grows, that wasn't earth material. That material was placed here during a dimensional overlap. There was a little hyper field that was created, and this stuff has been seeded here for these purposes. Inside of that creation material is the ability for your DNA to open and awaken. But this stuff, there's a finite amount of it. We only know it came from one place. We believe that there is another place to find Andaras in South Africa, but it's on the same land that occupies a diamond mine. No one's getting near whatever that Andaras are. I'm sure that they don't really understand, appreciate what it is, but if that triggers your curiosity at all, if the word Ethereum was a trigger, if the word prima matra was a trigger, then it was. Do your research. I'm happy to help you with what I learned. It took me 2 years to learn what I learned, and what I thought I was learning about Andaras ended up being about what Ethereum was. I'll leave that there and maybe pick up on that later this weekend. But if some of you are more interested in it, all the research I did, I put on my website about Andaras and Ethereum and what I know is there, with the exception of another document that was done in 1995 where someone had channeled Thoth. Anybody know the emerald tablets? Thoth? That trigger you? Oh, wait, what I have to tell you on Sunday. I was going somewhere with this point. I'm sure it'll come to me. Oh, but yes, on my website. All that data is there. My website is 40kftview, 40,000-foot-view.com. My adventures are there. Pictures I took on my adventures are there. All the Andaras are there. And all my research on Andaras is there. I got triggered because I bought an Andara that wasn't an Andara. I got a piece of pretty glass, and until I felt its energy, I didn't know, and that is when the rabbit hole started. I was trying to correct something that happened to me, and I learned something much more valuable. My time is up, guys. I'm here all weekend, and apparently I'm in a panel on Sunday afternoon, and we're going to talk more about 5D with me and Maureen St. James, St. Germain. I've got stuff that I'll share and pictures. I promise I will share if you stick around till Sunday. Anybody ever been in a light activation? I'm going to get to show you what that looks like. Deal? Thank you very much.